I was battling that cold, flu, whatever it was, as a hangover from the Christmas season last week. Still got a little bit in my system today, but so happy to be back here at Bahamas at Sunrise. I did catch a little bit of the show on Friday past. I was missing. Good morning, Mark.
Yes,
You
indeed.
sit here very well.
Yes, filling in for Phil on a Friday. I'm always happy to have Mark with us, but of course you were missed, and so we're glad that you're back. The weather is changing, and I'm sure Godfrey will talk to us more about that as we get into today's show. Yeah. But certainly you want to make sure that you're doing your best to take your vitamins, make sure you got the vitamin C in hand, that you do go to the doctor, unlike some of the men I know who don't go, and then they wonder why the thing doesn't go away. And so if it does progress beyond a few days and you find that your home remedy is not working, you want to go and make sure that you get checked out. Yeah. And most importantly, you want to continue to wash your hands so that you're not passing those germs on to other people.
That's right. Godfrey reminded me that I'm headed towards 50. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's right. Vitamins, right? Okay, gotcha.
Indeed.
But it was a pretty good weekend. It was race weekend, eh?
Sunshine race weekend.
I had a lot of colleagues who participated in that, and they're wondering, well, Phil, where were you? I'm like, knees. My knees just won't allow me to do it anymore.
I will show you. I'm not approaching 50 with my knees, and I don't know what's going to happen. I better not pick up my shoes this morning, and I said, what is this about? But no, I stayed
This is what it's about.
I'm going with the baby thing. I'm allowing myself to believe that. But post-baby, we're really going to have to figure out what we're going to do with these knees. I didn't make it out. Of course, like you said, the baby kept me inside this weekend, but got to spend some quality time with my daughter and husband, and so that's always fun. And then, of course, the games were on yesterday as we prepare for Super Bowl.
That's right. I missed the second one, but the first one was just really exciting with Kansas City and Tennessee. Boy, I tell you, that young quarterback from Kansas City is something special.
Yeah, he certainly is. I'm definitely going to be pulling for them. Of course, I'm an Eagles fan, but supporting Kansas City straight through now, and was happy to see them win yesterday. They are going to have a challenge when they meet San Francisco, of course, on the Super Bowl day, because that defense at San Francisco, it just knocked Green Bay out yesterday, and so we'll have to see what happens, but that will be about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got both of my hats on order, just.
Yeah, because you're a bandwagoner. He's a Bohemian, so what did we expect? We've got a great show lined up for you today, and so we're excited that you tuned in. What's coming up, Phil?
We've got Logo's Hope Team. They're back here. The ship is headed our way, and we'll talk with the president of Philander Smith College, a historically black college and university, here to talk about UB's ML King. Today is Martin Luther King Day in the United States, and we'll also find out how low testosterone affects sleep.
Yeah.
In neurology care.
Yeah, that's going to be a good segment with Dr. Pinto, as always. We also have the Bahamas Archery Federation here to tell us more about that sport. And so that should be pretty exciting. If you're looking to take up a new hobby in 2020, you can learn more about how you can get involved with that.
Somebody here who's really excited about that.
Who's that?
G-Day.
Okay, yeah. Our cameraman and producer today, G-Day, is very excited about that. I shot a bow in Freeport a couple months ago, and I was very excited. It did not go anywhere near the bullseye, but I did get to shoot the bow, so that was fun.
It's like the dart thing.
Well, no, I'm better with archery than darts. Darts is just a no. Okay. And then we'll also talk about the legislation supporting the plastics ban. Of course, we've been having a lot of conversation about it. Merit Store, our good friend, is going to come in and share with us more from the legal side of things on that. So that's to be a good conversation. And then Rotary and BTBI are here to discuss a town hall meeting that they're doing to talk about the skills gap that many workers are experiencing. And so we're going to learn more about that this morning as well. So we've got a full show for you. So happy that you're with us. Before we get to any of it, we're going to take a first look at weather, which apparently is going to be very cold this week.
Yeah, apparently winter is here.
Yeah, indeed, with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First in Insurance, today, tomorrow.
Sunrise is a Bahar week. That means it's going to be cold. Cold front moving across Central Florida, moving into the Grand Bahama later this morning, and over the Providence by this afternoon. Behind that system, a cold air mass will take those temperatures into the low 50s over Grand Bahama, upper 50, low 60 over New Providence over the next several days. In weather today, a mix of sun and clouds. Most of the clouds over Grand Bahama with a couple of showers at a time, and Bimini, and Abaco moving towards the southeast. Some of those showers are moving to the New Providence area by early afternoon, with a few showers, even a possible thunderstorm, particularly over the Andros and Bimini by afternoon. High temperature 83. But tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy, a little breezy, with a few showers, mainly along that frontal boundary. Your low temperature going down to 62 degrees Fahrenheit. And some regional highs and lows across the Caribbean. Barbados, 81 and 77. In Jamaica, 81 and 68. Trinidad, 82 and 75. And the Turks and Caicos Islands, 81 and 70. Across North America, Atlanta, 42 and 29. In Raleigh, 43 and 28. In Miami, 77 and 66. Dallas, Texas, 48 and 39. And Toronto, Canada, 26 and 12. As we go the next couple of days, some cloudies hanging around with a couple of showers across the northwest Bahamas, but those temperatures are going to take a dip with the partly sunny skies rest of the week, a little breeze. Temperature daytime will be in the low to mid 70 daytime, and the lowest 50s, the upper 60s, the lowest 60s at daytime. So those 50s, so the low 50s in the Grand Bahama, the low 60s across the New Providence area over the next couple of days. That puts you up in your first look at the weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. Of course, they are back. The world's largest floating book fair, Logos Hope, is coming back to town March 21st to 29th. Representatives Juliana Medina and Morris Rutgers is here to tell us all about it. Of course, they've visited over 135 ports, 60 different countries, 6 million plus visitors since launching. That's a lot. Those are big numbers.
Yes,
yeah. But welcome back to the Bahamas. I think it's been about 2 years now, huh?
Oh, for us personally, it's the first time here in the Bahamas.
Oh,
yeah.
Like
so
first time period in the Bahamas, or?
first time period.
Oh,
yeah.
excellent. Good. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
But yeah, the ship has been to Bahamas a couple times already.
Okay.
And if not the ship, then it was previous sister ships that we've had.
Yeah.
But now, so now the ship is touring the Caribbean.
Okay.
It's in Trinidad now, and it's just going to tour, and then Bahamas will be the end of the Caribbean
So
visit
it's making
for
its
us.
way up to the
Yes,
Bahamas.
yes.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the Logos Hope, the vessel itself, and how it's structured.
Well, the Logos Hope, our mission is to share knowledge, help, and hope.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you said, we are the largest floating book fair in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we just want to share our books, and we really have low prices. So it's really accessible, and our aim is not just kids, but families.
Yeah.
Like everyone can come and just enjoy the ship. Also, we have a section of help. So we have teams that can build houses. We have teams that use water purifiers. We have teams that give glasses, because we're a book ship, but if you
Yeah,
can read, then
Yes, you can.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then hope, we are a faith-based community of Jesus followers.
Tell us a little bit about the history. I mean, when did this all get started and why?
So the idea of the ships, it all started with one man from the United States who wanted to bring books into Mexico. And back then it was a bit harder. So he went with a van. He just filled the van full of books, went with a friend, and traveled to Mexico to distribute the books there. After that, more people, they started doing it every year. More people joined and more people joined. And in the end, he just had this idea of, what if we had a ship? Then we could go to so many other places in the world. So then they built the first Logos.
Okay.
They just made it a library, and they travel all around the world, and people from all over can visit and buy books.
Excellent. Is that a part of the OM Ships International? I mean, is that like the parent company?
Yeah, so the ship is part of OM International.
Okay.
Yeah, so OM is a Christian organization.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. All right. So again, year round, I imagine you do this. Talk a little bit about the calendar once you get to the Bahamas.
Oh. Well, actually, we arrived like 1 week ago.
Yeah.
So the calendar is still a draft.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we're filling it out, but we want to have events for kids, events for families, even for singles. We just want to have everyone relate to it. So we just gotta have events for everyone, and when we have more information, probably we're gonna come and tell
And
you.
of course, we'll have an event of all the different cultures that we have on board, because we're 400 crew members from 60 different nationalities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of people from a lot of different places, so we have so much to share. And then we also, of course, will have our theater show that we've done 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We've also had The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
On the ship?
On the ship, we have a theater on board on deck 3. So we have a live production of the Narnia story, the first book, which is really amazing. It's done by cruise members itself.
Yeah. And of course, your outreach ministry. I mean, this is. I mean, all of it is obviously outreach, of course.
Yes.
But once you're on the ground in a particular country, like for example in Trinidad and Tobago, where you are right now, what are some of the activities that you do there off of the ship?
Oh, we do a bunch. We partner always with local organizations. Like we don't just want to do things and then leave and then have the people just helped one time. We really want to partner with people so that they can be continued to be followed up with. So I don't know the specific details of what they've been doing now in Trinidad and Tobago, but I do know that we've been going to schools to share human trafficking, for example. We've been going to different nursing homes.
So we aim to the necessities of the community, or to just points that are very strategic, maybe, I don't know. And thus we just share.
Yeah.
We
And
make
that's
relations.
our job right now is to look for these things of what the needs are of the community where we're at, as well as what events they need, what just all the different things that have to happen that we need to know before the ship comes is what we're preparing.
So you talk about this partnership with local organizations, local people. So that means you're obviously looking for volunteers to assist.
Yeah.
So how do people get in contact with you? Is it all communicated through Facebook? I mean, obviously you're a floating vessel moving throughout.
We have a Facebook page, Logos Hope Nassau, and we're going to post the events calendar as soon as we get it. Also, if you're interested in a volunteer, you can also send us a message. But yeah, that would be the tool we can use to communicate.
The best tool.
Just message us through Facebook and we'll answer straight away.
All right, one final question. You talked about it at the beginning. The overall purpose, of course, is one thing. You know, speak about why that is so important today.
The overall
purpose of the organization of Logos Hope. It's not just a floating book fair, but you speak primarily about the reason why you do this.
Well, the reason we share knowledge, the reason we share help is because we want to share hope with people. And as we said, we are a Christian organization. We are Christians ourselves. So the hope we share is really just the love that we receive from Jesus. We want to share with the people as well. There are a lot of people that live without hope these days, and we really just want to bring that to them or share it with them in any way that we can. So that is really the main purpose of what we do.
Excellent. So March 21st to the 29th, the Logos Hope, the world's largest floating book fair, will be right here in the Bahamas.
Yes.
All right, Juliana Medina and Marge Rutgers, thank you so much for joining us here on Bahamas to Sunrise. Welcome to the country.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Bahamas to Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First insured drivers in New Providence, every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want First Response on your side, call 321st or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First Response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Well, today is Martin Luther King Day in the United States of America. And of course, for those of us that grew up here in the Bahamas, we recognize how important he was to our own civil rights and the time that he spent here in Bimini and, of course, right here in our over-the-hill communities. Today, of course, we'll celebrate him with a very special lecture at the University of the Bahamas, and we'll learn more about that. But coming to present at that lecture is a very, very special guest. Dr. Roderick Smothers is the president of Philander Smith College, which of course is an HBCU. And you might remember that last February we started a series educating you about the Bahamians who had gone to HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, and had done a phenomenal job with their lives. So So we learned more about the MLK lecture, but we're also going to learn more about Philander Smith College as we start that series just a little early today. Good morning, President Smithers, and welcome.
Good morning. Happy to be back again.
A pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
The last time I saw you, it was at an event that we had at the Hilton between the brothers of A Phi A and the sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority.
Yes.
And we got quite a few students signed up to go off to university.
We did. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm excited to be back to hopefully get twice as many this year.
Yeah.
Personally, got quite a few. I got 8 students as a result of that fair.
Okay.
And I know later we're going to talk about that. And
Yeah.
so I'm just excited. It's been a great partnership. And I just believe firmly in our historically black colleges and universities and what they do for our country, our world, our people, and the opportunities that they provide. And today we're going to talk about a graduate of an HBCU, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who graduated from Morehouse College.
Okay, and Dr. King graduating from Morehouse College, and you know, I was reading his story recently,
Yes.
and he'd actually gone into college quite young.
He did.
He left, of course, a brother of A Phi A, which
Yes,
we're also proud
absolutely,
of.
absolutely.
And then he just kind of took on the world and did it almost all before he turned 40,
He did.
when he did have to leave us early due to that assassination.
Yes.
But what will you be sharing on today that you think is so important for us here in the Bahamas to remember about Dr. King?
Sure. Well, you know, Dr. King was, we call him the drum major for justice in the United States of America, but, you know, he was more of a global drum major for justice. His footprint, his philosophies, his practices, his actions far exceed the boundaries of the United States of America. They had impact everywhere.
Right.
And so we celebrate him now as a global, as an international figure. But for me, tonight we're going to be at the University of the Bahamas, and I'm doing the lecture, and so I'm honored to do so. And so on my way over today, last night actually, I was reading a few of his past works and reading his lecture from when he received the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay.
And believe it or not, he wrote that lecture and a lot of it right here in the Bahamas.
Yes.
I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
And so in that lecture, he talked about 3 things. He talked about racial injustice, he talked about poverty, and he talked about war.
Wow.
Well, that is as if he was writing
Right
that
here,
right
right
here
now.
today,
That's
right?
exactly what I'm
those
thinking.
continue to be issues facing our world.
Right.
Racial injustice continues to be a major issue in our world today. Clearly, we have a lot of brothers and sisters who are living in poverty, and so I am an advocate for solutions to poverty. It's something we fight for back in Little Rock, Arkansas, where I live, and no doubt we are, as a country, perhaps on the brink of war in the United States. There are wars going on, but these are issues that continue to plague our communities today, and so his words then, even over 50 years ago, are still very timely today. And so I'm just happy to be here. I'm honored that UB and the Brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated chose me to be their lecturer. And I'm hoping as a professor that I can impart some knowledge tonight to the community that would give them some nuggets to take back into their lives and use it to improve our communities and the situations in which they live.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that lecture is open to the public.
It
so
is
of course,
open,
we
yes.
want to encourage people to come on out this evening.
Yes.
And I'll give them the rest of those details as
Okay.
we continue on.
Great.
But before we go, I want to learn more about Philander Smith College.
Okay.
I was so impressed, and rightly so, by you and the other brothers that joined you last year to talk about the HBCU legacies and how you all started and how you all ended up where you are as presidents of these great institutions.
Thank you.
What is it about Philander Smith College that you think sets it apart?
Well, you know, I think that one of the things that sets it apart is really centered around the reason why I'm here to lecture tonight for the MLK lecture. So Philander Smith College is one of the remaining 105 historically black colleges in the United States of America.
Okay.
We are located in Little Rock, Arkansas, and Little Rock, Arkansas is, in my opinion, one of the epicenters of the civil rights movement in the United States of America. Right down the street from Philander Smith College is the historic Central High School, where those 9 young African-American students encountered a number of challenges to integrate the historic Central High.
Right.
One of Philander's alums, his name was Dr. Ozell Sutton, who was a friend of Martin Luther King, who was with him on the day that he died in Memphis, Tennessee, is an alum of Philander Smith College. And so our mission there is to graduate academically accomplished students who are grounded as advocates for social justice and who are determined to change the world for the better. And so what a powerful mission.
Certainly.
What a mission that is tied to the man that we're celebrating today, because at the end of the day, it is our hope that we can take the words and the philosophies of King, impart it to the youth so that they can change this world in which we live. And so at Philander Smith, that's what we do every day. That's our mission. We have degrees from accounting to zoology. Our 4 major areas of focus are business happens to be our largest degree program.
Okay.
We have a very, very strong education program where we are focused on getting more black men into our educational systems in a very browning America, where in our schools today there are more brown kids than ever before, and we need that. We have a strong STEM program. In fact, we have a young man this year by the name of Dustin Ford, who is going to be going to medical school at Morehouse Medical College, same place that Dr. King went. And then the final area for us is social work. And when you look at the problems in our communities today, we need more social workers. We need more people who can talk to our young people of today about the problems that they're having to help make stronger families and stronger communities. So those are our 4 areas of focus. We have about 1,100 students, and so we're small, private. We sit in the heart of Little Rock. We overlook the state's capital downtown, and we are a legacy there in Little Rock.
Certainly.
Our alums have gone on to do some amazing things.
Okay.
Jocelyn Elders, and I talk a lot, so you have to stop me. Let me take over your role this morning.
I will find out though from you, because we do have to go. Unfortunately, the segments are so short.
I
We
know.
can talk
We
to you all
never
day.
spend enough time together.
But how can we apply? Is there a website that we can go to just learn more
Sure.
about the university, and
Sure.
how do we apply?
It's www.philander.edu. You can go there, and there's a button right there on the front page that will allow you to apply. We have one of your national merit scholars, Mrs. Storr, and we're going to leave you with a video of her providing a testimony of her experiences, and we have several other testimonies that I brought with me for you to share. Maybe during some of your commercials today,
It sounds like
you
a
can
good thing.
your students are doing an amazing job. I will say this, of the 10 Bahamian students we have at Philander Smith College, Denicio Knowles, who was a graduate of the government school, has a 3.9 GPA and is majoring in accounting.
Wow.
Ms. Storr, your National Merit Scholar, she's a 4.0 GPA.
Wow.
They are doing amazing work, and so we're hoping that from the fair that's coming up in March, we can get 3 times that many back to Philander Smith College.
Good to me. I know some graduates of Philander Smith College, and they would make you so proud if you see where they are now.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'd love to meet them.
Tell
them to come out and see me tonight.
We'll make that happen.
So give us a shout out.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining us,
You're very
President
welcome.
Smithers.
Thank
Looking
you for
forward to
having
an
me.
excellent lecture tonight. I'm sure it's going to be phenomenal.
Thank you. Well, I hope I can see you there.
Certainly.
Good. Thank you.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Incubus is a shared workspace company that provides services for professionals, freelancers, anybody that's in need of a turnkey solution for a private office space, a conference room rental, or part-time office space service. One of our main services that we provide to our members is high-speed internet access. There can be up to about 50 members within our space utilizing the internet and the Rev voice services. And Rev has done an excellent job of dedicated, reliable, high-speed internet service.
Unwrap holiday joy as Shell lights up Christmas with $50,000 in prizes just for you. Win a brand new 2020 Hyundai i20 Active, thousands of dollars in John Bull and Kelly's gift certificates, along with the latest Apple electronics. From now through January 24, 2020, purchase a minimum of $20 in fuel from your favorite Shell location in New Providence and enter to win. Visit our Sun Oil Limited Facebook page for weekly giveaways as Shell lights up Christmas. Terms and conditions apply.
We get up early every morning to offer safe and dependable service. Where quality service is paramount. An excellent travel experience is priority. Connecting the islands of the Bahamas to the world. Bahamas Air. We don't just fly here, we live here.
Welcome back to the show. Of course, G-Day Lowe, our producer, has been calling for this segment for a very long time. So very happy to have the Bahamas Archery Foundation in the studio, represented by Antonio Abraham, president of Bahamas Archery Federation, Dario Higgs, Yamacraw Archery Club, David Ramming Jr., a past president, and the lady who keeps it all together, she's the Secretary General, Shante Kerr Richardson. Good morning, gentlemen, lady. Welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, it's been a long time coming. We hear about this every week. I mean, we hear about this every week. But apparently it's one of the fastest growing sports, not just in the region and in the country, but still throughout the world.
Yes, absolutely, yes. And archery is very exciting. It's an exciting sport. It encompasses a vast demographic of people. So you can have kids shooting with adults, shooting with seniors, and everybody is having a really good time enjoying the sport.
I mean, that's interesting. When you say kids, I asked you earlier, what is the minimum age? You know, I look at this piece of technology. I mean, it's a piece of I tried to call it bow and arrow, but they shut that down right away and say, no,
we have
this
to
is,
shoot it down.
this is archery. but I mean, you can start off at, I mean, from just...
Yeah, I've taught kids as early as 4 years old.
4 years old.
And I have equipment, you know, the little miniature versions of what you see here, as you call it, a piece of technology that's fitting for that particular archer. And I have the short arrows as well that's fitting for that particular archer. So the purpose is just to let them have fun and expose them to the sport at that particular age.
And at any age, I would imagine. I mean, what's the oldest person that you might have within your federation?
Well, we have we have some persons up there in age, but as I traveled in various international tournaments, I've seen persons as old as 70 participating in archery. And of course, you class each person in a shooting class that is fair to everybody in that particular competition. But the reality is, you can have persons as old as 70 years old shooting safely and participating safely and having fun.
Wow. Dario, you are the president or representative of the Yamacraw Archery Club. Is that correct?
Yes. I am the newly elected president of the Yamacraw Club and also an assistant coach of the Pinewood Archery Program.
How long have you been doing this?
Actually, only about 6 months, you know. Yeah, but I just fell in love with it.
Wow.
If you see this guy shoot,
you
would think he's been shooting for about 2 years.
So, I mean, talk about that just a little bit. Is it like is it a feel that you got for it just right away? And
I'm not sure. Even as a young boy, I would practice with what you call the bow and arrow, you know. But I don't know what it is. It's just, I guess, my interest. You know, and the commitment. That's really all it takes. Good coaching. And good coaching.
And good coaching.
Can't deny that.
Is that a coach on your right?
Yes, sir. It's the head coach.
Well, David, let's talk. I mean, you're past president. This organization has been around for how many years now?
Since 2013.
Since 2000.
Officially. Like President Abraham pointed out, there are other clubs that quietly exist. There are other archers that have quietly existed prior to us. But we became a formal federation in 2013.
Yeah. So the Secretary General, I imagine on a day-to-day basis or administratively speaking, how do you manage this interest in this growth? And if people are interested in archery and starting a club, you know, what's the process involved with that?
Yes, well, we have communicators such as Abraham and David that really go out there and sell our product, which is archery. And we have a website that's up, and you can find other information on there. But basically, it's word of mouth right now. And we're trying to expand that by starting with Bahamas at Sunrise.
No doubt about it. I mean, this is always a good start.
So we're hoping to do that, and with the various locations that we are at, we're hoping to attract persons in the communities.
How many
because
locations
that's
are you
usually
at right now?
we have about seven
official,
including Freeport actually. So you know, we're trying to get the word out there, and we're using these kinds of platforms.
I mean, I can see this can be a very attractive thing for young people in particular. You know, when they look at this, I mean, this is not what I had in mind. This seems very complicated, but I imagine it isn't.
And here's the thing. It isn't complicated, and most persons would see the complication on the onset because they don't know what it is.
Right.
And as you start to delve into the sport, you become excited about it. You know, like our archer here on the set. some persons I find, I've taught probably over 1,000 persons archery, even if it's on a recreational level.
Right.
And you find persons that just gravitate towards the sport. There are certain things that you have to teach. Some persons find it out straight away. They do it naturally. And those are the persons that tend to excel at the sport. And on a coaching level, in a coaching capacity, that's the type of persons I think are going to be the persons perhaps in the next Olympic cycle, not this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Olympics and you're talking about this is a sport. I mean, you know, this is competition, David.
Absolutely.
I mean, locally, regionally, internationally.
It's an excellent sport for our country and for our people, from the discipline and its inclusiveness. It's gender neutral. It's physical neutral. It's also a good product for us in terms of our tourism and reaching out to the rest of the Caribbean and the world and integrating. So it's a good opportunity.
You can't forget the opportunity it provides for the young people coming up, the scholarship opportunities to travel. You know, as a discipline, the opportunities are vast.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so in competition, is it normally by age? How is it segmented?
It all depends on the tournament itself, because you have basketball, and basketball you would segment the various age groups, and same thing with track and field. With archery, it's the same. In addition to that, you also have various genres of archery. This right here is an Olympic recurve bow. If you take off this contraption right here, which is called a sight, and this is considered a bare bow, and that's another set of competition in and of itself. And then if you look at the Hollywood style of archery, you'd see a wheel and a cam, or a wheel and a wheel. That's called a compound bow. And so that's a different variation of archery. And then you put persons on a different landscape. So that changes the complexity of archery as well. You shoot up a hill, you shoot down a hill, you shoot in the bush. So that's field archery. And so there's a vast array of various genres and styles of archery that can encompass everybody.
I mean, this sounds so exciting. I mean, listen, this isn't even video game. You know, this takes the video game to real life, right, in terms of the fun that you can have. But I imagine this, you know, obviously this is the tool.
Absolutely.
And the tool costs money, right? And I would imagine that there's an opportunity for persons who are watching this and they want to get involved, not just in terms of participating, but maybe even sponsoring a club or two. You know, how does that work?
Absolutely. One of the best ways you can go ahead and support archery really is to participate in our recreational activities, because we launched that for several reasons. One is you pay a small fee to participate in the sport, and as a group, you can come, bring your church group, bring your friends, bring your co-workers, and we can put some balloons up, put a nice target up, and you get going, right? And so you participate in the sport, you help the federation as well. And in that, we may find a few persons who, like I mentioned earlier, gravitate towards the sport. So of course we can find elite athletes in that particular. So that's one of the best ways straight away. And of course you can just make a donation.
Yeah, of course. Great. How do we reach you?
You can reach David Raming or Abraham. Your numbers, please. I don't have them.
My number's on the website. And you can just Bahamas Archery Federation.org.
Yeah. And then by email.
And
yes.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much, Abraham Antonio, President, Bahamas Archery Federation, Dario Higgs, the Yamako Archery Club, David Raming Jr., past president. Again, thank you so much for being here on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you so much.
All right, you're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Do you want to know more about the scriptures, the early Christian church, its teachings, suffering, other religions, the authenticity of the Bible? The Anglican Theological Institute is for you. Enroll in a 3-year certificate program. Classes are conducted from Nassau and Freeport on Saturday mornings. Don't miss a class. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with high-speed internet. Contact us at 603-2481. Visit our Facebook page. Pick up an application form at any Anglican church or at Addington House on Sands Road. The Anglican Theological Institute is for you.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best-kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Maybe you have Rev Phone with its tons of awesome and free features. Or you're watching great content on Rev TV. Or maybe you have our blazing fast internet. So you already know how good it is to have one Rev service. Imagine if you had all three. With Trio, you get all of our services for $99. And you get entered into our $250,000 cashback Christmas. So the question is, why don't you have Trio? Just call 601-8992 or email us at trio@cablebahamas.com. Rev, you and us together.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're at the halfway point. I'm Anastasia Palacios.
And I'm Philip Simon.
And it is a pleasure to still be in your company. Thank you so much for staying with us. I just want to remind you, because Phil, I was talking with the president of Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he's here to give a lecture tonight at the University of the Bahamas, and it will start at 6 p.m. and it ends at 8 p.m. And the theme tonight is, whatever your life's work is, do it well. Excellent words of advice, I think. And of course, it will be held at the Harry Seymour Library and Information Center in the auditorium, and it is absolutely free. So if you do enjoy those sorts of lectures, please come on out and support.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, the whole civil rights movement is just, obviously historical in so many different ways, and opened up the doors for, all the things that came afterwards. In fact, even for the, preceding it, so many people have worked so hard for this concept called equality that should be a natural thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But certainly, the fight, continues actually to be quite honest.
It does. And so we want to encourage people to come on out to that today. It really should be a good time. And then, of course, if you wanted to learn more about Philander Smith College and the opportunities for your children, you could do so at that time as well.
No doubt. So I was upstairs. I was wondering whether or not we would do any target practice with the archery there, but interesting, very interesting sport. Very interesting sport. Growing up, you would try to mimic the whole bow and arrow type of thing, and play cowboys and Indians and all the rest of that stuff. But there's a whole nother level of sophistication with it.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And I was watching a young lady, because as I said, I did it at the YMCA in Grand Bahama on a trip down there a couple of months back. And this young lady was training in archery. She couldn't be more than 14, but her bow was bigger than her, right? And her arrow, but she was so skilled at what she was doing. And so it does take skill, and it is an exciting opportunity to learn something new. So definitely we hope that people will learn more about it.
For sure.
Yeah, well, we've got more to come in the second half. We're going to be talking with Merritt Stowe, our resident legal advisor, about that plastics ban and what that looks like from the legal side of things. And then, of course, we've got Dr. Pinto, right?
Yeah, we've got Dr. Pinto. He is back. Tell you, boy, he's got the best one-liners. You got to stay tuned. We also have Rotary and BTVI in the studio.
Yeah, so all that ahead and more. But before we get to any of that, we're going to take a second look at weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First in Insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you, starting morning, Mohammed. Just second look at weather. Sunrise, strong cold front moving towards the Bahamas. Grand Bahama cold by late morning, afternoon across the Providence, Eleuthera, and Andros. That's going to bring a couple of showers during the morning hours of Grand Bahama Abaco. At this point in time, moving across New Providence by late morning, early afternoon. That front should pass through 6, 7 o'clock this evening, and then behind that system, we want a cold air. But then you have developing low pressure off that system will give us some gale force winds starting late Tuesday into Wednesday. Those winds are going to pick up again. It's going to be very cold also. In the marine forecast, winds today southwest to west at 10 to 15 knots at first, or the northwest Central Bahamas, but shifting northwest to north and increasing 15 to 20 knots seas, building 4 to 6 feet after frontal passage. Then on Tuesday, those winds become northerly at 15 to 25 knots seas, 5 to 8 feet of northwest and Central Bahamas, southwest to west at 15 knots seas, 2 to 5 feet over the southeastern islands. Then on Wednesday across the islands, north to northeast at 20 to 25 knots seas 6 to 9 feet. So therefore, we're asking all you small craft in the airport and swimmers out of the water over the next couple of days. Your tides. You can expect a low tide at 10:29 this morning. Next high tide at 4:15 this afternoon. Low again tonight at 10:26. Sunset will be at 5:44 this evening. Rising was 6:56. UV index 7. Your water temperature 74 degrees Fahrenheit. And the moon phase last quarter. Standout look. We're looking at a mix of sun and clouds tomorrow, with the windy conditions starting across the islands, then partly sunny within the rest of the islands with some cooler temperatures at daytime. We're talking about the low to mid 70s daytime. At nighttime, the low 50s in the Grand Bahama, the low 60s across New Province area, and the upper 60s over the central and southeastern islands. That puts you up in your farm look as well as sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Star.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. So you may have heard the quote by Robert Burns. It says, "The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. No matter how carefully a project is planned, something may still go wrong with it." Well, I'm sure any politician knows that all too well. And today we'll be talking about the legislation supporting the plastics ban and the reaction that the public has had to it. How do the good intentions of lawmakers hit the streets and become something totally different? So there's only one person we can have this conversation with from a legal perspective, and that is, of course, Merritt Storr. He's managing partner at Providence Law. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thank you.
Always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So today we're talking about the plastics ban.
Yes.
And, you know, so many things have transpired since this ban has happened. Phil and I are obviously in media, so we've been having these conversations for over a year.
Right.
Yet I'm still one of the people to show up on January 1st, go to the store, no bags in hand. So what environmental laws were passed last year, and which of them deal specifically with the plastics ban?
Okay. There are quite a few. On November 20th, Parliament passed the Ministry of Environment Bill, the Environmental Planning and Protection Bill, the Environment Protection Control of Plastic Pollution Bill. That's the one we're most concerned about. The Environment Protection, the Bahamas National Trust Amendment Bill, the Bahamas Protected Areas Fund Amendment Bill, the Tariff Amendment Bill. So you can see that there was a slew of legislation that was passed. But the one that we're really concerned about today is the Environment Protection Control of Plastic Pollution Bill.
Okay. So environmental protection, control of plastics pollution bill. So that's the one that we're most focused on. And was there any sort of discussion prior to that ban and law coming into effect on the 20th of November?
Well, just as you said, the draft bill was circulated in August.
Okay.
But I recall quite a bit of discussion going on, maybe even before that, certainly subsequent to that, around the time the legislation was passed at the end of November. I remember a lot of radio ads.
Right.
So I think that there was a lot of publicity about it.
Okay.
But I will say, and I will confess, like you, 1st of January, 2nd of January, I'm walking in the store, I said, oh, I need a bag.
Yeah.
And I had some bags in my car. So it took a mindset to adjust to it. And it was a little irritating, to be quite honest.
So in terms of the act itself, right, what exactly does the act say? And then how are the restrictions supposed to be introduced and enforced based on the act?
Sure. So merchants and persons who use compostable plastics, etc., the ban began on the 1st of January, so you're not supposed to use them. There are certain exceptions, but solely for what we're talking about, the ban began on the 1st of January. There was an exception, and the exception was, and it's in the legislation, Section 9 of the Act says that you can sell a bag at a merchant can sell a bag for 25 cents, between 25 cents and $1, okay? Up until the 30th of June. It was like a buffer period. So 25 cents to $1 until the 30th of June.
Okay, so it's in the legislation.
Yes.
So if anybody actually read the legislation, this would not come as a surprise to them because the buffer period was there.
Yeah.
But what was the 25 cents charge intended to do? Like, was it supposed to give merchants another opportunity to make money? Because the reaction in the street is, oh, I'm not giving so-and-so 25 cents more.
I neglected to add that the Act also said, and the fee was to be retained by the merchant. They made clear it wasn't a tax payable to the government, it was to be retained by the merchant. I think that's what a lot of people
So,
are
Mr.
upset
Scott, I need to
about.
clarify
Yeah,
that.
Yes.
So it is, in fact, not a tax, and the merchant does retain the...
Yeah, the legislation clearly says, and the fee is to be retained by the merchant. Now, clearly, to me, it was intended to motivate people to go and buy bags. Right. So you don't want to spend 25 cents a dollar, go get your bags, and then you don't have to worry about it. Right. But the reaction has clearly been something opposite to what was intended. So it really was supposed to be a disincentive. Right. No more plastic. Okay, I'm not paying for no bag. I'm going to go get my bags.
Right. What is the public's reaction? Tell us, I guess, about a mindset that we have as a people as it relates to all of this.
You know, it was interesting. I think the legislators did not anticipate the feedback vis-a-vis the merchant retaining this fee and why that was being allowed. But the other part of it is, I think it was just a struggle to change a culture and a habit. And like I said, and you said, we all struggled with it. I knew it was coming, but still I walked into the store, and I still do it. I still walk into the store and leave my bag in the car, you know, and so it's a bit of a struggle to change the mindset. Right. So I think that's a big part of it. I think it's just irritating that you're asking us to change something that we've been doing our whole lives. Okay. But in addition to that, there still seem to be people who didn't fully understand or were aware that this was coming, and that's the part I confess I found a bit puzzling. I didn't quite understand.
So as we kind of think about that, because now we're saying, all right, so you will pay this 25 cents up until June 30th, and after June 30th, there will be no option for the 25 cents because the bags have to go.
You should have, this should have been the buffer period for you now to go and get the bags you need so that you don't need to worry about plastic anymore.
So do you think it is that perhaps we use more international media? Like, are we not just paying attention to any media at all, or is it that we're more focused on international news sources, and that's why the messages aren't reaching people?
I don't know that people, well, I say this very carefully and very broadly. The very broad masses of people, I don't know if everybody reads the paper every day and uses traditional media as the source of their information. People get information from social media and from non-traditional sources. That's the only thing that I can conclude, you know.
No, I can agree. I'm sure if we sent it out via WhatsApp and a very funny story, more people would have realized what was happening. So what are the options available to the government now?
Well, the government can stay the course. Listen, we made a decision, the legislation is passed, that's what it is, adjust. Or it can capitulate in a way and amend the legislation and say, okay, maybe we didn't think this through properly. We can go back to Parliament, amend the act, and start all over again. Or I could even repeal the legislation and say, okay, we'll do away with it altogether. Use as much plastic as you want. I don't think the latter is going to occur. I think it's just a question as to whether the fee will be adjusted. So far, the government has given no indication that it intends to amend the legislation. Let me just add one little thing just as for a smile. The legislation was unanimously passed. Okay, the government and the opposition unanimously passed this legislation.
That one does make me smile indeed. Mr. Starr, thank you so much for joining us this morning, always giving us a new light on how we look at things and clarifying the facts for us. And so we thank you and Providence Law for that.
My pleasure.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
This is Eddie, and Eddie's a change counter. This is Sean. Sean doesn't have to count change because when Sean purchases a plan with Alive, it's VAT inclusive. Keep things simple, just like Alive's all-new VAT-inclusive prepaid plans with more talk, more text, and even more data. So don't be an Eddie. Freedom simplified. Alive. Believe in best.
Incudus is a shared workspace company that provides services for professionals, freelancers, anybody that's in need of a turnkey solution for a private office space, a conference room rental, or part-time office space service. One of our main services that we provide to our members is high-speed internet access. There can be up to about 50 members within our space utilizing the internet and the Rev voice services. And Rev has done an excellent job of dedicated, reliable, high-speed internet service.
Unwrap holiday joy as Shell lights up Christmas with $50,000 in prizes just for you. Win a brand new 2020 Hyundai i20 Active, thousands of dollars in John Bull and Kelly's gift certificates, along with the latest Apple electronics. From now through January 24, 2020, purchase a minimum of $20 in fuel from your favorite Shell location in New Providence and enter to win. Visit our Sun Oil Limited Facebook page for weekly giveaways as Shell lights up Christmas. Terms and conditions apply.
We get up early every morning to offer safe and dependable service. Where quality service is paramount. An excellent travel experience is priority. Connecting the islands of the Bahamas to the world. Bahamas Air. We don't just fly here, we live here.
Welcome back to the show. We've got the man himself, Dr. Gregory Pinto, urologist at Urology Care Bahamas. He's back to talk about lack of sleep, low testosterone, and how those two might be linked. But of course, we start off this segment every time because he's got something to say.
I must say, good morning, Bahamas, and good morning to my daughter, Gia.
Oh, man, you're going to have to bring her on the show one of these days.
Yes,
man.
one day.
It feels as though we know her already.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels as though we know her. But we're talking about testosterone and the role that it plays in the body and the impact that it could have on if you're experiencing a lack of sleep.
Well, I mean, testosterone is fundamental. It's a male hormone that gives every man is not just his sexual drive, but it's important for every system in his body, particularly his cardiovascular system.
Okay.
So low testosterone could actually put you at greater risk of a cardiovascular event, such as a stroke or a heart attack. It reduces your bone density. It reduces your production of red blood cells. It's also important in such things as keeping your fat distribution from increasing.
Right.
And it allows you to maintain your muscle mass. So at the age of 40, on average, you lose automatically every year 1% of your testosterone. But some men start with a lower baseline than others.
Okay.
So it's quite a well-known phenomenon. By the age of 50, at least 15% of all men are going to have low testosterone. At the age of 60, it's up to 19%. Age of 70, it's 28%. And that's across the board. But most men don't even know that this happens, that you have such a thing as low testosterone or hypogonadism. And it can affect your life on so many different levels, and particularly in terms of sleep deprivation. So what it can actually do is it can be linked, it is actually linked with obstructive sleep apnea.
Okay.
So you hear about this term obstructive sleep apnea. So commonly it's the wives, the partners who know about this obstructive sleep apnea because the men are asleep when it happens. So you have this loud snoring that wakes up the whole house. It has your wife up all hours of the night. Then all of a sudden for 10, 15 seconds you hear complete silence where the male actually stops breathing. And that's during a period of REM sleep, rapid eye movement. And during that time, that's when your body replenishes your testosterone. So every time your body is woken up out of REM sleep because of obstructive sleep apnea, it takes you out of the cycle where you're supposed to be replenishing your testosterone. What makes it worse is low testosterone causes obstructive sleep apnea to get worse. Obstructive sleep apnea makes the low testosterone even get worse. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So obstructive sleep apnea is going to make you feel like you're walking around like a zombie. You wake up more fatigued than when you first went to bed. And there are thousands of Bahamian men who go through that. All of a sudden, they were diabetics for many years. It's all of a sudden poorly controlled because of a syndrome called male metabolic syndrome, which is linked with low testosterone. So even men who were diabetic, didn't have high cholesterol, didn't have hypertension, are now predisposed to late onset of these horrible chronic diseases. So when you're walking around fatigued all the time, it can be from many things. It can be from, as a urologist, because you're waking up in the night all the time because of obstruction from enlarged prostate. In many cases, it's benign BPH. So you're waking up 5 times in the night. Obviously, you're not going to get a good night's sleep. Even if you sleep 10 straight hours and you have obstructive sleep apnea, it may be the equivalent of sleeping 1 hour.
Right.
This can affect you on every level. So you can be falling asleep when you're driving at a stoplight. Right. Your professional life is ruined because you're falling asleep in the boardroom. This can be dangerous because, like I just mentioned, you're driving, you're falling asleep all the time. Obviously, it's going to affect your productivity. If you're not getting 7 hours of good sleep, it's going to affect your longevity. Yeah. It's going to affect your heart in the long term. So,
but I mean, how do you stop this? I mean, you talk about the drop off in testosterone as you
need
increase in age. I mean, can you stop that? It sounds natural.
No, you can obviously, it's also linked with your body mass index. So you want to reduce your likelihood of obesity. You want to keep active. You want to have exercise at least 2 or 3 times a week. You want to watch your diet. You also, if you have these disorders such as diabetes and hypertension, make sure that they're well controlled as well. But if, just in terms of annual screening, once you're 40 years old, it's a very good idea to get at least a baseline so we know what your testosterone is. So when you have maybe symptoms 5, 10 years down the road, you know what your baseline was, so we can try and get you back to a little bit above your baseline.
And that's not a regular part of, say, an annual physical. That's something you request, I get.
It's not just an annual physical that's going to automatically do that. But as a urologist, yes. So that anytime I see anyone who's 40 years old, I'm going to at least get a baseline testosterone. Not everyone with low testosterone needs treatment. Okay. So some people can have a low testosterone and not need any treatment. So it's important to know what your testosterone level is. It's important to know what your PSA is when you're 40 years old, because both of them can negatively affect your quality of life.
These are through blood exams?
Simple blood exam. Okay. So you can get and it's not an extra stick at all. Okay. You just add it, tick a box in terms of your blood form, and you get a wealth of information that you're automatically going to get just as part of annual physical, which you'll get within your urologist.
And what is the treatment? I mean,
so there are many ways of getting testosterone. First of all, there's different types of testosterone. So you hear all these gimmicks, these commercials that you say, take this, take that. There's organic or functional cause, or you can call it primary, secondary cause. So it comes from the higher centers where you're producing testosterone, from the brain, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, or it might be at the level of the testes itself. So we need to, as a urologist, determine what kind of low testosterone you have, what kind of hypogonadism, and then treat you appropriately. And then the health benefits can be profound. I'm not saying that this is some kind of fountain of youth where every man needs testosterone. It's actually not that the case at all. But if all of a sudden you're gaining 25 pounds and you don't know why, if you're falling asleep after you eat dinner, you just watch NFL, you missed half the game because you fell asleep. If all of a sudden you were shaving every day, every morning for your whole life, all of a sudden now twice a week, you're losing muscle mass. You can't do as much in the gym as you once did. Low testosterone is very likely the cause of that. So let's get your testosterone. If your orgasms are not as intense, if your ejaculate production is a lot lower, all of that is related to low testosterone. If you wake up in the morning because you have to urinate with an erection and now you don't anymore, that's one of the early signs of low testosterone. And as I said, if we can correct your testosterone, you can have a better quality of life, not just sexually, but in terms of every aspect of your life. And it can possibly prevent you from getting a cardiovascular event, a stroke or heart disease down the road.
Wow, excellent. Wow, Doc, boy, tell you growing all ain't easy, ain't it?
No.
How can we reach you?
I have a website, urologycarebahamas.com, but I'm available as a consultant urologist at Princess Margaret Hospital. But my main office is at the Centerville Medical Center, and my office number there is 326-1929.
All right, Doc.
Thank you very much, Philip.
Thank you very much. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We've been with Dr. Gregory Pinto, urologist at Urology Care Bahamas. We'll be right back.
Since 1967, Focal has been a vital part of the Grand Bahama community, providing high-quality products and great customer service. Today, we continue to work hard and remain focused on fueling growth for people throughout the Bahamas.
One thing, two things. Little thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right into the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. The future of work, addressing the skills gap, is the focus of the luncheon town hall meeting organized by the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute and the Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise. Here to tell us more about it and how you can get involved, we're very happy to welcome Carla Stubbs. She's the president of the Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise, and we also have Dr. Robert Robertson, who is the president of BTVI. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
A pleasure for having you both here, and such a wonderful conversation we were having even before we got on air, just talking about this idea of the skills gap. So why was this the perfect partnership for BTVI and Rotary to come together on?
Well, let me just say I'm the past president of Nassau Sunrise.
Okay.
So for Rotary, we're in what we call our vocational services month. And part of Rotary, one of our focus is economic and community development. Dr. Robertson is actually a member of our club. And we were looking for something to do that would impact the community. And BTVI recently completed a skills gap survey last year. And the context was one was done by the IDB in 2012. There was this deficiency then, there's a deficiency now. And Rotary was looking for a part to play. How do we get the stakeholders involved? How do we trigger a conversation? How do we initiate policies? And BTVI is a pioneer in that area. They're in the forefront. So we collaborated. We're bringing stakeholders together, and everybody that we've spoken to who's involved has agreed to come on board. And so we're having this town hall confab where hopefully we will get together, have discussion, trigger ideas, trigger policies, and have initiatives, because it will help us trigger the economy.
Okay, excellent. I mean, it certainly sounds like something that is very much needed. And I didn't realize the IDB service was 2012. And, you know, time flies so quickly. And I'm sure that so much would have changed as the world continues to expand and grow so absorbently in technology between 2012 and 2019. So when you look at this town hall, what is the hope for you as the president of BTVI?
Well, I was attending a session about a year ago on the skills gap, and everyone was referencing the 2012 IDB study. Well, that's 9 years ago now, or 8 years ago, and so the data is dated. And so one of the things we talked about with the Ministry of Labor and with the Organization for Responsible Government was to do an updated survey, which we did in the fall of 2019. So the results are just coming in now, essentially. They came in the fall of 2019, obviously, but about 125 participants in the survey. So we got some pretty good data, not just from New Providence, but some of the other islands as well. And as we talked before the interview started, it's pre-Dorian, though. So I think Dorian had a big impact on skills gap issues, which we can speak to later. But in any case, one of the things that the survey does is helps to inform us as a technical school about what employers really need and want. And as we discussed, this issue of a skills gap is not unique to the Bahamas. It's something you see in Canada and the United States and in Europe. It's driven partly by technological changes, but partly by global competition and partly by an aging workforce in many countries. So we really need to stay ahead of the curve, and that's really what we're trying to do with the data. And the Conflict Lab on Thursday is an attempt to allow us to have a discussion about that.
And so you guys will have panelists as it? What will the format be for this town hall?
So it's a panel format. We're having remarks brought by the Minister of Education, who has endorsed this. He's really come on board in a big way, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd. And then we're having panelists. The president of BTVI will reveal the survey results. We're having a representative from the Chambers of Commerce, Mr. Peter Gowdy. We're having from the Contractors Association, we're having a Grand Bahama representative. There is an apprenticeship program council. We're having a representative from them. And we're having someone, she's Bahamian, but she lives abroad. She is a strategic business advisor. She's coming to speak about workplace disruption
I mean, we see that every day. One easy example is now a lot of banking is online.
Yeah.
What happens to the personnel that were in the banks that you used to go to? So we need to think of skills gap in a bigger way. The workplace is being disrupted. What are the skills that are going to be required? So we have panelists across the board who will be addressing these issues.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be an excellent conversation, especially for employers, and then I would think even for those who want to be employable.
Yes.
So
definitely.
is it open to the general public?
It's definitely open to the general public. Registration is free. Did I say free?
Free, my favorite
Absolutely
word.
free. And it's a luncheon. So there's going to be a light lunch.
Okay.
It's at the Atlantis. Registration is online. Because we're talking about the future.
Right.
So if anybody Googles on Facebook, Twitter, you'll see registration skills gap town hall, and it's a limited capacity, only 200 persons.
So people need to sign up.
Right, and we opened registration last night, and people have started signing up.
Okay, all right, well, this is excellent. And when we think about BTVI and the future of BTVI, I know that you guys partnered with RBC recently as well and had an awesome opportunity to get sponsorships for more kids to come. And when I say kids, I mean people of all ages coming to be reskilled and retooled at BTVI. Are there more opportunities for sponsorship, more opportunities for people to get involved with making sure that as a collective nation, we are getting the skills for all of our employers? How does the sponsorship work?
Well, I think in the first instance, it's important to recognize we now have a government-sponsored tuition program. And so we have a lot of enrollment now that previously we would not have gotten because of that. So those are for full-time sort of degree and diploma-seeking students. The kind of support we need, though, is for part-time students, people who are working but they want to upgrade their skills. And so that's still a pressing need for us. In addition, the minister has identified a need for specific skills in the trade. So you don't have to take a whole program with math and English and things perhaps you're not really good at or you're not interested in. But just take a specific course in, for example, welding or plumbing. And that would really add to the pool of talent in the country, and it would do it quickly. So the minister has asked for some scholarships from the private sector to support those kinds of initiatives. And as you mentioned, we did have a big partnership that's just sort of concluding with the Royal Bank of Canada. We had an excellent event yesterday, and they're supporting us in retention efforts. So a lot of students who come into the programs just aren't trained properly to get in. And so the retention program is to be more specific to the needs of each individual student. They're not a part of a class necessarily. We look at that student individually, and we help them in what they need.
Okay. Well, listen, I mean, this sounds like a great partnership. Rotary Club of Nassau Sunrise, of course, BTVI. Looking forward to hearing more about the skills gap and the updated data now coming from your survey done in 2019. And, of course, if you want to get involved in the conversation, it is happening this Thursday.
It is.
1 p.m.
1 to 3 at the Atlantis Grand Ballroom.
Okay, and of course you need to register online because there are only 200 spaces available.
Only 200 spaces.
And I'm sure they're going to be filled up by the end of the day, so I really want to encourage people to do that.
I can give an email address if persons want. It's Rotary, R-O-T-A-R-Y, daughter, D-A-W-T-A, at yahoo.com.
Okay.
Rotary.daughter at yahoo.com.
All right, and they can send their registration request
or
their sponsorship
request preferably.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining us this morning, and we wish you all the best with the event on Thursday.
Thank you.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Since 1967, Focal has been a vital part of the Grand Bahama community, providing high-quality products and great customer service. Today, we continue to work hard and remain focused on fueling growth for people throughout the Bahamas.
One thing, two things, blue thing, whole things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
time to it for us, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Yes, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again real soon.
Bye.